Alright, today we're going to do a black and white landscape edit practice, and the first step we're going to take is we are going to duplicate this layer, and we're going to call it the levels layer because this is where we're going to do some changes to the value tones in here. We are going to lighten the center a little bit, and then I'm going to lighten the trees just like so they're a little more evenly the same value tone going across. So I'm going to start with a lasso tool here, and I'm going to start by just right now this area on the left is kind of nicely has like a nice, I think, balanced value tone, and I want to have this side kind of match this side a little more, so I'm going to take this here and I'll make a circle, and I'm going to come up to refine edge, and I'm going to feather that out, okay? Because we have to like feather it out gradually. I don't know why. There we go. So we see it just very gradually feather out and say okay. And then we're going to go to image adjustment levels, and then we're going to just lighten that area out just a tad bit. Okay, and so then we can see here that this is starting to match more of this area, and we're going to keep this area here a little bit darker tone and this side a little bit darker tone as well. So we can see that this side is matching this side a little more. I'm going to lighten this center area just a tad bit where we have the rocks and the little shrine. So I'm going to go to refine edge and feather that out a little bit. So it gradually feathers out, maybe 50. It just needs to gradually feather out. So there we go. We can see that it's just gradually feathering out. We're going to say okay. And then we're going to go up to image adjustment levels. And I'm going to lighten it up just a tad bit, but not too much, okay? So here we go. So we can see that the center pagoda shrine is now a little bit lighter, and the right side is a little bit lighter. It kind of matches the left side a little more. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I'm going to call it dodge and burn. Okay, and I'm going to see if there's any areas that I need to dodge and burn. But before I do that, I'm going to put in a black and white layer because I need to see how this is going to look in black and white. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a black and white layer and make everything go black and white in this image. And I'm going to adjust the reds, the yellows, the greens, the cyans, the blues, and the magentas. So as I start to adjust the reds, I think I like that because it kind of, I think I'm going to want it going a little bit to the right. It kind of makes these branches in the back stand out a little bit more. I don't think I want to go negative on this. I want the yellows to stand out a little bit more in this, so I'm going to move it to the right a tad bit. And then the greens, definitely don't want, if I go that way, it just gets a little bit darker, okay? Maybe I do want a little bit more contrast by going a little bit to the left. And then let's check the cyans. Not too much on the cyans, but I will bring it to the right because it makes the pagoda have a little more contrast. It makes the pagoda stand out a little more. So I'm going to move it a little bit to the right, and then blues. Yeah, I'm going to move it a little bit to the right on the blues. Helps to keep that pagoda standing out. And then magenta, not really much affected. Okay, so I'm going to close that. So I'm going to go back to my dodge and burn layer here, and I'm going to come over here to my dodge and burn tool. I can either make something lighter or I can make something darker. So I am going to dodge this pagoda just a little bit. I'm going to make sure my exposure is set to 20. And I'm going to make the pagoda slightly lighter, but not that much, okay? Just a little bit, just kind of go over it a little bit. Make the stones a little bit lighter so they stand out, but not too much. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, so we can turn that on and off and see the difference. Okay. And then I'm going to make this a little bit lighter, so I'm going to make this a little bigger of a brush. And I'm just going to dodge this slightly here and just make this area a little bit lighter so it matches this side a little better. So we can see that now. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate the Dodge and Burn tool. I'm going to call it Retouch. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the black and white layer for a moment here. I want to get rid of these leaves on the ground. So I'm going to retouch those leaves that are on the ground, but I can see them better when they are in color. So I'm going to come over here and grab my cloning tool. Here we go, cloning tool, and I'm going to remove these leaves from the gravel. As I do this, I have my opacity at 50%, and I can use my bracket keys to make my brush smaller or larger. I'm going to fill in a little bit of this like darker gravel area as well. Okay, I'm going to back out and I'm going to turn the retouching on and off, and we can see the nice retouching that was done, kind of filling in that gravel a little bit and getting rid of the leaves. I might fill in some gravel from the right over here and fill this in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my black and white layer back on again. Okay, so now I am going to add a brightness and contrast layer above the black and white layer. So brightness and contrast, and I'm going to make this a little bit brighter overall and give it a little more contrast overall as well. Okay. So I'm going to analyze my image to see if there's any more areas that I need to retouch. And it looks like I have like this pole that's going across the back that I don't really like. So I'm going to retouch that pole out, but this time I'm going to do it in black and white. Okay, so the idea is to make it look very natural. Looks like I need to do a little more here on the left. Alright, so we turn off the layer. We can see that there is the no retouching done and some retouching done. I'm going to kind of even out this gravel a little bit here. Okay, that looks a little better. Now it's time to add in our final vignette. Go up to the top. Gonna click on solid color, black. Okay. Make sure I click on my layer mask to the right. Gonna come over here and grab my brush, about 1,000. Make sure black is over white. If it's not, then click on this little arrow here and make sure your black is over the white. Then I'm going to sweep across this, making sure this is at about a 50% opacity. And I'm going to sweep across this. And I'm going to leave the corners a little bit darker. The top left and the top right corners. And make sure they're nice and even. And then I'm going to okay, so you should see on the mask here just a slight gray on the left top, right side corner, left side corner. If you don't like it, you can always put it back in and then go in and undo. I want to make sure this left corner right here is in the grays. Okay. And now you want to just look at your image and make sure everything looks good. Make sure you've got a little bit of gray in the left corner, a little bit of gray in the right corner, and it should look something like this when you are done.